Hey, this is Kobe R. Rice again. So let's talk about why the Democrats are not going to win many seats in 2018 and 2020. And I actually did not believe this myself until I started seeing many of the things that have been happening, not just through the government shutdown, but just over the past week, couple of weeks. And I sort of noticed that while Democrats at the moment have a moral high ground, which I agree with, dig your heels in until you're able to get the stipulations for DACA where they need to be, and until you're able to get the people on the other side of the aisle to play ball. Because if you give in now, which Democrats tend to do when it comes to who's going to blink first and playing these games of chicken, then basically the Republicans are going to give you a bunch of baloney and malarkey and are not going to follow through on their promise, period. Okay, and just for the record, just for those of you listening, I myself do not no longer really identify as a Democrat. I used to for a long time until I realized that my interests basically expand beyond the scope of which the Democrats are willing to represent. And I say that as a Black American and a person of color and a woman in this country. And so I can get into my own personal and political affiliations later. That's outside of the video. But in case you guys are sort of wondering where I stand on the issue, I tend to consider myself generally left of center, but then also moderate in certain situations. So, in any case, back to the entire message at hand. I do believe in digging your heels in, not to be stubborn, but just to make sure that everybody you're here to represent is ultimately represented. And that does mean these 800,000 dreamers, okay? And let's just be very clear, the Democrats certainly have a moral high ground, but let's also be aware that they're also protecting a significant portion of their vote. That's literally almost a million votes for the Democratic Party if they're able to keep DACA in the loop and keep dreamers in the country. So let's be clear about that as well. For those of you who are sort of diehard, party affiliates and Democrats who think that we're the sort of moral high ground party, sure, in a lot of ways we are, quote unquote. And I guess I'll lump myself in at the moment and say, in terms of like people who have Democratic leanings, we tend to be the ones who are always, super liberal and having these moral high grounds. At the same time, be aware, again, this is almost 1 million votes that Democrats are protecting. So just keep that in mind. While they have the moral high ground, getting to the point, you guys have no message. Like, I've been watching just sort of on a loop CNN, multiple, and other channels, MSNBC, ABC, etc., but mostly CNN. And what I'm seeing is a lot of Republican representation in front of the camera. You have people from the White House coming to talk about the issue. You have people from the Senate, from the House of Reps coming to talk about these issues. And for whatever reason, I don't know what's going on with you guys, Democrats, but Republicans are towing the party line, staying on code, keeping their faces in the media and keeping their message in the media and on a loop over and over and over again. On the other hand, the only thing that I'm seeing really from the Democrats are people like Dick Durbin, coming out basically, with the whole shithole countries fiasco, which was a really horrible, horrible moment for our country. But I guess that's just becoming the norm in the age of Trump. But Dick Durbin came out strong. We had Chuck Schumer coming out strong. And those are really the only two, aside from the talking heads on CNN or the talking heads on these other channels, that I'm seeing coming out with any sort of solid message. A lot of people, a lot of Democrats that have been talking about these issues, I see them speaking from inside of the House, talking to their fellow colleagues on both sides of the aisle. But in terms of addressing the American people directly, giving justification as to why there's a government shutdown, giving us some kind of moral support and moral encouragement, keeping up morale on the Democratic and liberal side of the aisle, you guys have been falling super, super flat. And I get that, you guys are, I mean, this is just my assumption, but I assume that you guys are trying to, when they go low, we go high sort of deal. But no, the Republicans have billionaire money behind them, are getting all these crazy commercials and crazy TV spots and crazy media spots out there, repeating their message on loop. And I am seeing literally little to zilch from you guys. And as much as I don't really have many conservative leanings, the more I hear Republicans explain their stance on the issue, the more it's starting to make sense, even if it doesn't make any sense. Not because I'm just, this political zombie who just can't think for herself, but because research and statistics show that the more you hear a message, the more you start to believe that message. Rather, the more that message starts to domesticate itself in your mind and in your life. And you guys on the Democratic side of the aisle are not creating a message on loop that is becoming domesticated in the hearts of America. You have no platform, you have no message, you have no propaganda, you have no pithy comebacks to Schumer Shutdown. Why don't you guys come out the gate with something like Trump's Travesty or the Republican Regress or whatever it is you have to do? But you guys need to get your PR together collectively, just hire, I don't know, Judy Smith to handle your thing. If you guys don't know who Judy Smith is, I'm sure you do, but she is literally the fixer of Washington, D.C., upon which Olivia Pope from Scandal is based, and she is like the baddest bitch in the universe. I got to meet her. She at UW-Madison when she came to speak. She was amazing. She's brilliant. She's kind, and she's humble, and she is a badass bitch. And you guys need to go hire her or something to fix the messaging that is going on with the Democratic Party right now, because the messaging sucks. And the more people in America hear the Republicans talk about their stance, the more that the White House is getting out in the media and putting their face in front of the American people and addressing the American people directly, the more we're going to relate to them, because they are talking directly to us. We need people from the Democratic Party or whichever party, whatever, but specifically Democratic Party, because, it's largely a two-party system. We need people from the Democratic Party to address the American people directly, period. As disgusting as Trump's most recent ad was in terms of illegal immigration and putting up a wall and using, this one crazy ass, homicidal guy who immigrated to our country and who killed 2 cops, putting all of that in front of, the American people was disgusting and horrible. But the ad, to anybody who is not thinking critically about the issues, is convincing. And the point of the ad, even if it's not convincing, is to keep exposing you to that point of view and to that perspective. And as many times as we don't want to think of ourselves as these higher intellectual beings, the bottom line is that people are creatures of habit, just like most other animals in this world, and the things that become a part of our habit become a part of us. So if the Republican propaganda is becoming a part of our daily habit, then ultimately you're going to have an entire body of Americans when it comes to 2018 and 2020 who are going to the polls, not necessarily, we're not sold on Republicans, but we're not necessarily sold on the Democrats either. And this is the thing. It's the bottom line is that the Republicans are humanizing themselves to us, and they're speaking to us and to our issues. The Democrats are not speaking to us at all. So, I might not vote Republican, but I'm definitely not voting Democrat. And so you have a lot of people whose votes are going to get lost and going to get flushed down the drain because you refuse to come out into the media and address the American people directly and to implore our investment, to encourage our help, to encourage our support, and to explain to us why you're shutting the government down. Even though a lot of us who are reading, who are actively engaged in this entire conversation, we understand morally, ethically, intellectually, politically, why you're shutting the government down. And you should actually even hear how I'm phrasing it right now. I mistakenly said that the Democrats are shutting the government down, which is not true. It's really the Democrats and the Republicans, more so the Republicans when you see the sort of chain of custody with regard to the bill and all the elements of the bill. But that is how deeply ingrained the Republican message is becoming. The more I hear it, now it's looking, from my view, you can put this squarely in the laps of Democrats, even if it's not your fault, because that is what the constant messaging is telling us. Anyway, so I went on a rant, but I'm just saying, if you don't clean up your message, and if you don't put yourselves out into the media more, and I'm talking about not talking heads on CNN necessarily. That's all well and good, but I'm talking about actual representatives from the Democratic Party who are in positions of legislative power, who are senators, who are representatives, etc., getting in front of the camera and talking to us as directly as possible about the reasons for the shutdown, about how you're trying to, make things work. Let us see what the process is looking like in terms of Democrats scrambling. Even if you're not scrambling, pretend that you're scrambling to get this issue resolved, even if it's not your fault. Because at the end of the day, these billionaires who are backing these Republicans are kicking your asses in the airwaves. They are kicking your asses on media. So at the end of the day, it's not going to matter how much moral high ground you have if no one knows what the damn message is behind your moral high ground. So get your asses out there and get a damn message and let us know what that message is. And that's all I have to say. I'm not any, Olivia Pope or anything like that, but I just see what I see. And as someone who is liberal and left-leaning, who's not necessarily a Democrat, but who leans left, I'm telling you straight up that the Republicans' message is very convincing, even if it's morally bankrupt and it has nothing to do with the facts. The bottom line is that repetition and making themselves a part of my daily habit, a part of my daily intellectual thought process on the issues, is helping to ingrain their message into my brain, even as a higher thinking critical person. And you guys need to be doing the same thing. It sucks that media works this way. It sucks that, people just can't look at the facts and make decisions based on fact rather than on emotion, rather than on, someone being more relatable than someone else. But that's just the bottom line. This is how you guys lost 2016. You thought that Trump was going to be so unrelatable and so ridiculous that you didn't even put in the effort to get out in front of him, and you let him eat up all the news cycles. And because he ate up all the news cycles, the more that disenfranchised white people, white Americans in middle America saw his message and did not really see much from you guys, didn't really see much reaching across the aisle, reaching out to them from you guys, they became convinced that Trump was going to be their new Jesus Christ. So I'm just saying, don't make the same mistake when it comes to the 2018 and 2020 elections. Get out there. Get Judy Smith to fix your political messaging. Get some commercials out there. Have people directly address the country. Talk to us, please, as the American people, as opposed to just talking to yourselves and your colleagues at the House and on the Hill. The American people don't give a shit about what's going on inside of your conference halls and inside of your, where you're voting. What we care about is what you guys are telling us and how you're relating to us as people and how you're dealing with our issues and our problems as Americans. So don't get cocky and think that we've learned our lesson and that we're going to automatically go to the polls to vote Trump out, because a lot of us might not just go to the polls at all and just say fuck America altogether. And that's something you definitely don't want. Anyway, so that's all I'm gonna say. Fix your message, get it out there, get off your laurels, and spend some fucking money so that you can let us know where you stand and that you care about the American people. All right, peace out and good luck with the government shutdown, Democrats. Keep pushing.